What are the challenges specifically faced in the housing sector?
Gosh, well, supply of houses has to be, number one. There is a housing crisis in the UK. In fact, there are two housing crises, and I think it would be good if we could all recognise they're two very different ones. There's a south and the London and the south one, and there's a north of the country housing crisis as well. So addressing land supply, addressing housing supply, and being able to build in the most efficient ways is probably the biggest thing that we face as an organisation. Equally important, though, is just kind of customer expectation, customer demand, customer habit, customer preference, and actually helping the organisation respond to that has got to be really, really important for us. Because yes, technically there isn't really choice. The council will, if you're on the nomination list, will nominate you to a house, you'll come to a home, and all the rest of it. But I think that's absolutely no reason for complacency. We should operate as though customers had absolute choice and provide services, accordingly. And that demand is changing quite quickly. And I think, again, maybe it's a lack of collaboration, maybe it's just the institutionalization of what we are as a sector. I don't know what it is, but I don't think we've moved terribly quickly in that regard. Although I'd say in the past year or two, I think there has been a really important shift across social housing sector. And it gives me great confidence that we're starting to really get the hang of this stuff now.
Do you think there are too many housing associations?
That's been a long debated one. I think it comes back to, is the piece of string too long? I think, I don't particularly, at the end of the day, I don't particularly care as long as it's an efficient system. I don't think we have a terribly efficient system at the moment, principally because I think we all try to do everything for ourselves. And I think there's a role for big organisations. Perhaps we could be agglomerators, perhaps we could provide services to others. I think there's a role for smaller housing associations who could provide that very boutique, that very customised, that very specific service, which they will be far better placed and able to provide than perhaps a larger provider can do. So I think there's a role for all sorts of different shapes and sizes of housing associations. Whether that shakes out as whether there's too many or not enough, who knows? I've long given up trying to answer that question, if I'm absolutely honest.
Is there one significant thing the government could do to help the housing sector and the housing crisis?
It's not one thing, it's a lot of little things. And I think, and I think also we always kind of say the government should do something. And I think actually there's a lot of responsibility lies on our own shoulders. So, but with those caveats, I think the one thing a government could do would be a longer term strategy for housing that's longer than the length of a parliament and longer than an HMT driven budget cycle. Because the nature of housing, whether it's a rented home which amortizes over 35 or 40 years, whether it's a new home, just the design, development, sale is longer than the lifetime of a parliament. It seems crazy to have housing policies that then are squished into a less than 5-year policy. So I think if we're going to have one thing that really gets to handle is a long-term policy strategy for housing that each subsequent government can adopt and accept. So there has to be a degree of collaboration between particularly the 2 or 3 main parties, or 4 if you go to Scotland, who all kind of sign up to this thing. That will allow us to make the long-term investments, get the infrastructure planning right, get the financing right, potentially get the collaboration right. I think that would go a long, long way. But, it comes back to housing associations, builders, etc. We all have a part to play in that too. It's not just down to government.